This is Minister Tashia Gilmore. Welcome to Shout Victory. This call is an outreach of Valley to Victory Ministries, and I want to welcome you to the call. We are continuing our discussion on the Lord's Prayer. We've been going line by line through the Lord's Prayer, and we've been talking about give us this day our daily bread. And when we go before the Father and we say, give us this day our daily bread, we're not just talking about the food we eat. When we go to the Father and we ask for daily bread, that daily bread is not just our physical needs being met. It's trusting in God to meet our emotional needs, and then trusting in God to meet our spiritual needs, and of course, trusting in Him to meet our physical needs, because our God takes care of every area of our life. We don't serve a God who simply said, I'm going to give you food, but I could care less about how your emotions are or your spirituality is. No, our God is a God who provides, and He provides for all of our needs. And when we go before Him and we say to God, give. When we say give, see, God responds to give. You know why He responds to give? Because our God is a giver. He is a giver. For God so loved the world that He gave His only Son. And we serve a God who is already a giver. So when you come and you say, God, give, you are speaking His language. I don't know if you've ever had someone, maybe a close friend, and it just seemed like you guys just were so in tune. You could almost finish each other's sentences, or you shared the same thoughts, or you wanted to go off and do the same thing. See, when we speak language, we are so in tune with Him. When we say God gives, God is already a giver. So we're speaking His language. He expresses His love through giving. So we tapping into the love of God. We are tapping into the essence of who He is when we simply say, give. Because He's a God who loves to give. He's a God who gives abundantly more than we can ever hope or imagine. He's a God who's the overflow giving. He's a God who's not just going to give a little. See, when God gives, He gives it more than you could ever hope or imagine. He gives abundantly. So as we come to Him and we say, God, Father, give, He cannot help but respond. He is compelled to respond because that is His heart. That is the essence of who He is. He can't help it. He simply waits for us to say, give, and He comes and He runs to give. It's like any parent when their child comes and says, Mommy, Daddy, can I have? And my son is really good at this. My son is really good at this. He'll want something, and he'll give me that look. His eyes just go a certain way, and his lips just go a certain way. And it's almost that irresistible puppy dog look. Mommy, can I have? And just like our human heart is drawn to give good, God's heart, how much more is drawn to give to us. We are His creation. We are His children. We are His beloved. He is so drawn to give. And this prayer is simply a reminder to us to press in and say, give. See, what happens is we get caught up in our independence. We get caught up in, things are okay for me right now, I'm good. We get caught up in that. And we forget our need of God. We want to stand on our own legs. We want to stand on our own strength. We get things going okay, and we're floating for a while. And then we come to a place where it's challenging. There's a bump in the road. It's difficult. There's an obstacle. See, it's a reminder that we need to go back to the Father and say, give. We get reminders along the road of life of how desperately we need Him to give. And not just give our physical needs, but give our emotional needs. I love His word that says He binds up the brokenhearted, because there are so many of us who are brokenhearted. And He binds up every wound. We simply need to go to the Father and say, give. And He meets our emotional needs. He meets our spiritual needs. And there's that place in us that is reserved for God. Within us is a spirit that continually calls out to God. And no matter how we try to fill it, it will never satisfy. People try to fill it with food. People try to fill it with sex. People try to fill it with alcohol, drugs, relationships, with money, with power. They try and try and try, but it will never work. It will never fulfill the longing that God put in us for Him. We always got to come back to that place where we say, Father, give. We have to come back to that place for every single need. There is nothing else we can do but go to our Father, because He is the one who fulfills. He is the one who will fill us up. And as we go to Him and we say, Father, give. He's a generous God. He will pour out into our lives in abundance. But the thing with God is God does not push His way into our lives. He allows us to seek Him. But then He promises when we seek Him, He will be found. I want to encourage you today to look at this prayer. This whole series has been about looking at this prayer in a completely new light, seeing all the little nuances of what Jesus said. It seems like a simple prayer. It seems like a prayer that, we just pray by rote. We pray it because we've learned it and we go through the words, we mouth them. But I want you to pray this prayer from this day forward and every day forward, completely different. That is why we're doing this series. I want you to pray this prayer with the significance that it deserves. When we go to our Father and we say, God, give us this day. This day. It's not tomorrow. It's not yesterday. It's not some upcoming future event. But give us today, Lord, what we need. And when we go to our Father and we say, give us this day, our Father, He gives it to us. He gives us what we need just for today. This is Minister Tashia Gilmore. Live a life of victory.